Can we get the city manager?
I think she's on her way. He just brought a package.
What about the attorney?
That's what we needed.
They were in the office.
Yeah.
There he is.
It is now 6:30, and at this time, I will call this city commission meeting to order. We're going to stand, and tonight, we are going to have our invocation presented by Pastor Ingraham, who is pastor from Allen Chapel here in High Springs. And we will follow that with our Pledge of Allegiance.
Let us pray. Sovereign Savior, we thank you for this day that we have never seen and this day that we will never see again. We thank you for your grace that has covered us and protected us all day long, and your mercy that smiled on us when we got up this morning. Lord, in this season, we ask that you continue to heal this land, continue to bless our men and women of service, continue to lead and guide this city to new dimensions that we've never seen before. In times like these, we've learned to trust you because you've never failed. Your word never fails. You've never failed. So we trust you even when we can't trust ourselves. Pray for an excellent meeting tonight. Bless the works that we set out to accomplish. Let everything that we do be for your glory. In Jesus' name, amen.
Ms. Plum, can we have roll call, please?
Mayor James.
Here?
Vice Mayor Jones.
Here.
Commissioner Ambrose.
Here.
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 Thank you. All right, before we do the approval of the agenda, I would like to make one addition, please. Before item number 1, we are going to have a presentation from Mr. Rodney Young, who is a candidate for the Florida State District 8. Long. What did I say? I'm sorry, Mr. Long, they said I messed up. I'm so sorry. So with that change, can I have a motion to approve the agenda, please?
So moved.
Second.
All right, it has been properly moved and second that the agenda be modified. All those in favor, respond with aye, please.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. All right, motion carries 5-0. Our next item is approval of our minutes. Can I have a motion, please? Or comments?
I move we approve the minutes from August 24th and 26th from the budget workshop and commission meeting.
Second.
All those in favor, respond with aye, please.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. All right, minutes approved and motion carries 5-0. All right, at this point, we will listen to Mr. Long.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the commission. Madam Mayor, I've been called worse, so. Good evening to each of you. I'm Rodney Long, and I'm a candidate for Florida Senate District 8, which represents Alachua, Marion, and Putnam counties. I am on a 3-county tour, touring all the counties in this district to talk with local governments about the issues I know local government face because I'm a former elected official. I understand that. But most of all, I want to make sure that I visit all the communities. To me, in order to be able to be a servant, you have to visit all of the locations that you're going to serve and be able to understand what the challenges are for each of those particular governments. Just a little bit about me. I've had the opportunity to serve on the Gainesville City Commission. I served 6 years, 1 year as mayor commissioner. I served on the Alachua County Commission, served 2 terms as chair of the Alachua County Commission. My colleagues at the Florida Association of Counties elected me to be president of the Florida Association of Counties for 2 terms. I served on the National Association of County Board of Directors, and in 2011, my colleagues at the National Association of Counties selected me to represent them at the White House to discuss issues facing this nation's counties. Local government is a passion of mine. I've served in local government. But unfortunately, local government in Tallahassee is under assault. It's been under assault for the last couple of years. The representative that represents this district is one of the people who's leading the assault against local governments in this state. I wanted you to understand, that's why I'm coming by here to tell you, as a former elected official, when I'm elected next state senator for this district, I assure you that you will have an advocate and a voice in the Senate that represents local government. Also, I would like for you to understand that democracy just in general is under assault in the state of Florida. They pass preemptions against local government, unfunded mandates, and cost shifts. But when I'm elected your next state senator, I would push back against all of that. Democracy is for the people. And to me, government that's closest to the people is what's best for the people. In Tallahassee, they believe that one size fits all. That's not what I believe. I believe the government closer to the people is best for the people. I don't understand why in Tallahassee, the people of this state have challenges when they want to amend their constitution. There's pushback every time there's a constitutional amendment by the leadership in Tallahassee. Whether it's Amendment 4, whether it's Florida Forever funding, whether it's the minimum wage, there's always a pushback. Also, even affordable housing. Speaking of affordable housing, as a local realtor, I would push and fight for full funding of the Sadowski Trust Fund for local housing dollars for our local governments. I also want you to know that I'm a strong advocate of education. Because to me, as my organization with the Martin Luther King Jr. Commission, we've given out over $300,000 to seniors in Alachua County for education. That is my commitment to education. So I appreciate the opportunity you've given me to come by and just to share with you, to introduce myself to you. I'd like for you to feel free to call me. My phone number is on there. Visit my website, www.Rodney Long Senate District 8. Feel free to call me. I would love to meet with you individually. I'll be glad to meet with you in person, by Zoom, by phone, because I like to hear your views. I want to know what your issues and your challenges are when I go to Tallahassee. So thank you very, very much, Madam Mayor, for allowing me to come. Hot Springs is no stranger to me. When I was on the county commission, there are many challenges and issues that we dealt with here in Hot Springs, but we always work collectively together because we're all together when it comes to government. Thank you very much, Madam Mayor, Commissioners. I appreciate you all allowing me this opportunity. Thank you.
Okay, moving right along. Our first item is our budget item. Consider Resolution 2021-H.
Madam Mayor, this is a resolution of the City of High Springs, Florida, determining the amount of and fixing the tentative rate of ad valorem taxation for fiscal year 2021/2022, providing for conflict, severability, and effective date. The appropriate motion at the appropriate time is to pass Resolution 2021-H, and this resolution sets the tentative millage rate for fiscal year 2021-22, and it's fixed at 5.88 mils, which is a 6.876% increase over the current rollback rate of 5.5017 mils. Motion should be to pass the resolution 2021-H as read by title only.
When you read it by title only, that's at this 5.88.
Yes, sir.
Comments?
So the budget was made based on 5.88. If you, this should be in all of your spots. That shows if you want it to go up, how much additional revenue would come. Oh, so I have them all at my spot.
Okay. Absolutely.
So it shows that every increase, how much additional money that we would get up and above the 5.88 millage rate. So if you went up to 5.95, it would give us an additional 24,000. If you went up to 5.99, it'd give us an additional 39,000. 6.0, 42,000. 6.25, which historically we have done 6.25 in the past before, 132,000. Again, the budget has been based off the 5.88 millage rate. Y'all are aware through our strategic planning sessions, there's many issues within the city that we could use extra funding, from additional personnel to vehicles to adding some money to the road budget. I mean, the list really is endless of the city's needs. So it's for y'all to decide what you would like to do.
All right, do we have other comments? No?
And I'll say something.
Go ahead.
Well, first off, I want to thank staff and so forth for bringing in the budget at 5.88. Obviously, it goes up because values have gone up. It's at the same rate, but there's still going to be the 6% increase simply because of the increase in values. But I do want to thank them for keeping it under. I think since I've been on the commission, it was 6.25, I think, when I got on, and we've been able to keep it below 6. And so I'm in favor of that. I'm open to going up a little bit. I'd like to keep it below the 6, me personally. So I won't make any proposal right now. I'll wait to hear what the others have to say. But I appreciate keeping it where it's at. Our waters, we're going to have a little increase in water and so forth. So the fire assessment. So I appreciate keeping this with, at least for this year, with the other increases that we're doing, keeping it where it's at.
Anyone else here?
I'll go ahead and say something. I see in my business all across the board how a lot of things are just increasing, especially the labor costs and labor pool. The demand to find people, you're having to pay more. But also our city's grown and a lot of our infrastructure is being used more heavily. And I'm not specifically talking water and sewer, I'm just our parks and everything else. And at some point, the rate just needs to go up for us to maintain things. And we frequently are telling citizens, well, we just don't have the money.
Right.
And I looked at my tax notice for my property in Newberry, for my business, and their tax rate is currently 5.5945. And they're going up to proposed to 6.2807. And which is a pretty big increase, but they see that demand. And we've kept rates reasonable, but we were at over 6% 10 years ago, and we dropped the rate when the economy went down, and we took a lot of cuts, and we're still trying to rebuild from some of that. So I'm in favor of going above the 5.88. And I understand that it's symbolic to keep it below 6, but, you know, I mean, I'm looking at the difference in numbers here and everything across our budget, and, you know, I'd be more inclined to go 6.15 or 6.25 to have that extra revenue to do things we really need to do.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
I understand we do need to increase our rates. We've stayed level for a long time. I would be more inclined to go with a middle range of 6.0. And perhaps next year we'll be able to do more.
Commissioner Williams, any thoughts?
Yeah, kind of in the middle of the shifts, because if you go up to the 6.95, it's extra, but it's not a lot of extra. Even with the 6.99 and with the 6.00, there is an increase. I don't think you can pave no roads, but it is an increase, which we need, because I hate after they say every time the citizen asks, we don't have the money.
Yeah.
We don't have the money. And that's make me feel bad when I have to do so. So. Let's just say maybe next year we can do a little bit more. So I'm in favor of the increase, but whatever the board decides.
How much, does anybody know how it affects citizens in the tax bracket? I mean, approximately.
Figure it out. I'll just do a $200,000 home. I apologize, I should have had that.
It's okay.
I'll do 250. Okay. So, I'm almost there to give y'all the difference.
Okay.
Which rate am I doing?
Do the 6.00.
Okay.
I know on my house, I'm looking at the notice I received. At the current rate, it would be, or the rollback rate, the tax on my home, the portion that goes to the city would be $380.17. And if we went to 6.25, the portion that goes to the city out of my taxes would be $431.91. So basically, $52 more to go over the course of the year going to the city. And I know me as a citizen, I'm willing to pay $52 over the course of the year to the city, because the other taxing authorities, some of them are getting way bigger increases, you know, and I don't think I get my money for that.
Ross, you did yours at 6.25?
Doing rough math, you're at about $18.62 per home at 6.00. And at the 6.25, you're about $57 on average.
I did mine on 250. I got 30. So, I mean, we're all in the same range.
Well, I went to if it were the rollback rate
Oh, okay.
versus not the
Okay.
5.88. So actually the increase from 5.88 is less than to 6.25 is about $30.
Yeah.
So we're talking $30 more for my house over the course of the year. That shows up in our coffers
At which rate?
at the 6.25.
Well, I know that you would be willing to pay that, and perhaps I would. I just don't know if it's going to affect the residents. I don't know. I don't. You're right. We consistently say we don't have the money. I would be inclined to go 6.252 just because of the financial strait that we're in, but we don't want to tax that's not a pun. We don't want to overtax our people. So that they feel overburdened.
We do have some other things that we added a few dollars to. The citizens are gonna have to
Yes, the
have
fire,
required
yeah.
to
Fire
pay this
assessment,
year.
yeah, mhm.
And I don't want to stress them out. I do recognize the fact that we could use the extra dollars as well, but you don't want to stress your citizens out either. So I would go back to the 6.0 myself.
Well, we want to see if anybody wants to talk on this before we go any further.
Right. Ah, okay.
Come on up.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Catherine White, City of High Springs resident, paying taxes. I appreciate the fact that Newberry has a big jump. Newberry is also growing much faster than High Springs is. And, you know, with our current millage rate going to 5.88, that's still an increase. And I understand we need to fund things. There's a lot of things we need to fund that I don't really understand yet that I will, but I think 6.0 is pushing it. I think that the average Joe citizen in High Springs is not going to understand 6.25. That's a big jump in the millage rate percentage-wise. And, you know, I understand that it rolls around, but already going to 5.88, people are going to see an increase. And as a citizen, I'm okay with an increase because I understand there are a lot of needs, but I think going all the way to 6.25 would be too much.
Any other audience comments?
Madam Mayor, if there's anyone on Zoom that would like to speak. Thank you. Madam Mayor, if there's anyone on Zoom that would like to speak to this, we ask that you utilize the raise your hand function within Zoom, and we'll bring you in. I see no hands at this time, Madam Mayor, but there are people who are watching on social media who may want to jump on Zoom to speak to this.
Okay.
So perhaps we can circle back around in a few minutes, and if there are more participants, I'll let you know.
All right. Thank you.
And that Zoom link, by the way, is available at highsprings.us by clicking on agendas.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
Let me just add something on this one here, and I think what we've all experienced since the city manager's come on board is the budget is completely different. We figured out, and we've seen some areas where the funding was not maybe what it should have been, that money should have been going elsewhere, and it was being pushed. I have extreme confidence, Mr. Hados and Bruce and them, to what they've done with the budget and how they've rearranged the budget and the way that they've taken the money and they've actually allocated it to where it should be. I'm not going to go over 6. I'll make a motion that we do it at 5.95, and then we can go from there. I'm not going to go to 6 simply because I'm just not going to. I think we can incrementally, we don't know what's going to happen on construction. We don't know what's going to happen as far as things being added in. I know Bruce, or Ashley, what little bit of money did we get on the CPI thing? Do we know that by going?
That was 0.05, was the increase.
But what was the dollar amount that was something? Okay. But there again, on your water and sewer, there's going to be a slight bump because there's an ordinance that basically puts the CPI. So it isn't going to be much. I mean, he's going to tell us. I just think the timing, we're still into this time we're at, and I'll make a motion at 5.95. There's no second, so go ahead.
I thought you were waiting to get your answer from Bruce.
Well, okay. I'm gonna still do the 5.95.
Oh, okay.
He's just gonna let us know the CPI because that was the ordinance we passed last year, which basically adjusts the water and sewer rates on an annual basis, so we're not having to arbitrarily vote on an increase that people will know, 45 cents, 50 cents, whatever, we know that it's there. That's irrelevant, but it is another slight increase in a rate, was my point. Regardless of what it is another slight. So once again, I'll make a motion that we adopt 5.95.
Okay, with that in mind, is there a second? Well.
I'll make a motion, we go to 6.0. And why I'd like to see it more, and I could, in my mind, justify it. I hear what people are saying, and, you know, where there are increases, that's because there are increased costs. You know, our fire assessment went up because we've let 3 fire trucks get to the end of life. So we're gonna fix that, because people told us they wanted a fire department and advanced life support. So, you know, there's a cost, but there's all the other departments that need something too. And the 5.95 generates not quite $25,000 extra in a multi-million-dollar budget. It's, you know, but 6.0 is 42,000 extra. So
I will second that.
Let me comment then on the deal. Another thing you understand is we're going to be doing the impact fees where you're going to be hitting in transportation, you're going to be hitting in police, you're going to be hitting in parks and recreation. Now, granted, that's not going to come here, but that is going to be a major funding avenue that's going to be presented and available to us going forward, which will also, this won't have to go there. So just keep that in mind as we do this one here. With the impact fees coming in, the amount of money that's going to come in specifically into those various areas, what we're specifically talking about, I think the one development, if the whole thing came in, was $7 million just on impact fees. So I think we at least have to keep that in our mind going forward, that is going to be a revenue source to us go into those specific categories that we're talking about.
Mayor?
Yes.
And I agree with what Commissioner Jamison has said. And one of the things that when we had the strategic planning workshop that he made clear for me was there's a difference between what we need to operate our current facilities, infrastructure, and things for the citizens that are here, and then making sure we do something with our impact fees so that as people want to come to the community, we can afford to handle what they're doing. So we are likely with growth going to see exactly those funds, but they're going to be paying for the cost of all those additional people. They're paying their way to come in. So with roads and sewer and what have you. So by the time we do the build out to accommodate, say, that one new development, we're going to spend all those impact fees for that kind of thing. You know, and we're probably going to need another fire station was one of the things that the chief told us. So, you know, we'll have places to spend that extra revenue.
But that's what you're advocating this money. All I'm trying to say is there's going to be an increase in the taxation, or however you want to say it. But the impact fees will specifically go to those areas that we're talking about. This doesn't. This goes
Right.
in the general fund. So you could sit there and say, we're going to raise the money in this here and put it in the general fund. There's no guarantee it's going to go anywhere. There's no guarantee it's going to address specific issues. That's up to us to do that. But when you do the impact fee, that money is going to be there, and you're right, you're going to get it, and it's going to be coming in, and we're going to talk about a lengthy time. This isn't something that's going to happen and go away. That money's specifically going to be for roads. That money's going to be specifically be for parks. That money's going to be specifically be for police. I have always, on the deal, and those are people coming in, I think people are okay with having increases if they know specifically where the money's going. We do this, we're not doing that. This is going into the general fund type of deal. And I understand most of it is, and don't get me wrong, but I'm just saying, to me, if we're going to do something like that, I would prefer knowing that when the money, the people who are coming in are gonna pay for the things that we're gonna need. And this is gonna stay here, it's gonna go up. I'm just saying not now is all I'm saying, is I don't think now is the time to go over. With the other increases that we've had, I understand we have to do things, we've been able to do it. I have faith in the management. We made 5.88 work, and I didn't think that was gonna happen, but they made the budget work. So, thank you.
Are we discussing this?
Go ahead.
So, compromise here. So what if we put the rate at the 5.99, then I'd still be up under the 6.00. So we, and in between the two from the 6.0 and 5.99, that's $3,571 difference. Keep it up under 6.0, you go to 5.99. It's an increase. Ain't much as the 6.0, but it's an increase. Like I said, the difference is $3,571.
You have to cast a vote.
Yeah, we have to cast a vote, redo
Yes,
it, but I
we
mean,
did
Or you
second
can
it.
rescind it.
Who made the motion?
I made a motion. Okay, so I could rescind it and then make another motion for 599, or we just let it go and see what happens with the vote.
Is that what we do?
If there's
Rescind that
no,
one?
if there's no second,
There was a
then
second.
There
Yeah,
was a
there was a
second.
second.
Mhm.
You can amend your motion, and then the second can also amend if she so chooses, if that's what you want to do.
Okay. So you can amend it.
Okay, I'd be willing to amend it to 5.99, if my second would go along with
My
that.
second, I will second that.
Okay, we'll do that.
All right, good. All right, it has been properly moved and second that Resolution 2021-8 be approved. Roll call.
Mayor James,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Jones,
Yes,
Mr. Ambrose,
Yes,
Mr. Jameson,
I'm thinking. No.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Okay, motion carries 4-1.
Let me say, Mary, and I don't, on the deal, I appreciate everybody listening and so forth, and I'm glad that we were able to come to a consensus, pretty much besides myself, but I appreciate it and the compromise. So I appreciate it and thank my colleagues.
All right. Let's go to item number 2. Consider ordinance 2021-08.
Madam Mayor, this is an ordinance adopting the 2021-2022 fiscal year budget of the City of High Springs, Florida, providing an effective date. The appropriate motion is to pass ordinance 2021-08 upon its reading by title only.
I have a presentation, so people who are watching can kind of understand what the budget
Okay.
consists of.
okay.
It's long, so I'm going to, because y'all have heard parts of it in the budget workshop session, so I'm going to go through those really quickly so I don't waste everyone's time.
All right.
oh dear.
Whoa.
This is so neat.
After just commending you and your staff, and you got to drop it.
I write, it's like, it can't go completely smooth. Okay, so this is a presentation on the city budget as it's presented to the commission tonight. We will be going over all the departments in the general fund, the special revenue funds, which includes the fire control district, as well as the enterprise funds. So the summary of the funds, the general fund, the revenues and expenditures equal each other. They're both around 5.5 million. The special revenue funds, the revenues for they're anticipated are 2.9 million. The expenditures are 3.5 million. Just to let you know, there is way more than that in there to cover it, because we have significant fund balance in funds such as the Parks Special Revenue Fund, which includes the wild spaces money. So the largest portion of that increase is the Parks capital projects. And Damon's being very ambitious, so this year. The enterprise funds, which is water, sewer, solid waste, 4.3 million, and expenditures 14.3 million. The grand total for the revenues this year, which includes capital projects, not just operating, 22.8 million, expenditures 23.3 million. Again, this is due almost solely due to the capital projects, which includes not just parks, it includes the train depot being purchased by the building department, the third well, the wastewater treatment plant expansion. So there's a lot of capital in there that we just really need to get caught up with. So here's a graph that shows our top revenue sources. Taxes come in first. Obviously, the biggest tax is the ad valorem, but other taxes are included in there as well. 26% of the general fund budget is made up of transfers from special revenue and enterprise funds. Franchise fees, 7%, and intergovernmental, 7%. Those are the top revenue sources into the general fund. Intergovernmental is like grants and things like that. Hopefully we can increase that one over coming years as we apply for more grants. General fund revenue detail, it's the information I just gave, but includes the numbers. 2.9 million taxes, 413,000 franchise fees, 396,000 intergovernmental, and from there you have development fees, licenses and permits, charges for services, fines and forfeitures, rentals, miscellaneous interest, so that's all below 100,000. General fund expenditure details, which, as is common in many cities that have police is one of the #1 departments as far as expenditures. So that takes up 41% of the general fund budget, followed by streets. And again, staff is aware the street budget needs to grow substantially. Right now, it is coming in at the second largest, the second department that spends the most money in the general fund at 11%, Parks and Rec 8%, City Manager and Finance Office 7%, and License and Billing 5%. And this is the detail information, which includes the actual numbers. So as you can see, I'll just pull the biggest ones again. Police is around 1.9 million, followed by, let me see, it's hard to say. Streets is 545,000. City Manager's Office, 326,000. Finance, 289,000. Trying to see what else. Facilities right now is 164,000. That's not as high as it needs to be. And Parks and Rec is another one of the big ones at 377,000. So right now we'll go through all the departments in the general fund. I think what I'm going to pull out mostly is the changes or the projects that are in the budget. And if there's no changes, I'm just going to say there's not, significant change from previous year, and we'll just keep moving. The City Commission, The total amount of their budget is $129,000, no major changes to this budget. City Attorney's Office, $69,000, no major changes. City Manager's Office, $326,000. There's an increase in personnel due to the Assistant City Manager position. We moved the Public Information Officer out of IT and split it between the City Manager's Office and Fire. The City Clerk's Office, the big project here is the increase in contractual services to pay for the Muni Code legal review. And what this is going through the Code of Ordinances and cleaning it up and making sure everything's in there, everything's accurate, is in an order that people can understand it and access it. It's pretty important to do every few years. And I also want to mention, I want to get into the strategic planning items that this, y'all had your strategic planning items with your strategic planning sessions and the ones that we satisfied or were counted in this budget. So the the Muni Code legal review was in the strategic plan as well. And then there were other ones that we're going to accomplish next year. They just didn't need to be put in the budget. Police, the total amount of their budget is $1.9 million. The changes from the previous year budget was some building improvements, an increase in Alachua County dispatch. We needed to put a line item in there for the magistrate because code compliance is under police, and in order to have a more aggressive code compliance program, we need to have a magistrate on board so we can handle the cases that aren't being resolved. As well as we added vehicles and strategic planning items that were, impacted. The vehicles and firearms have been taken care of, as well. We've started the impact fee study that impacts police as well. Finance, the budget for finance is $289,000. There were no major changes. License and billing, their budget is $229,000. The changes in that budget was that the meter reader was moved underwater, and that was so that there's more kind of turnkey operation and more efficient use of time for those positions. So no other strategic planning items were impacted. Again, there are non-budgeted things we're doing from the strategic plan to impact utility billing in the upcoming year. It's just nothing that we had a budget for. Human resources, no major changes. The budget for HR is $20,600. Public information. So we added $31,385 for the PIO department. This is a new kind of department that we are making. Since we have a public information officer, we needed to put some funds in there to cover some of the marketing and promotions that we would like to do. IT, $198,000 is the budget. There are several changes in this budget. One of the things that's important is we don't want our technology to get behind the 8 ball in the technology and end up in the same position as we did with the fire trucks, basically. So we increased the professional services account for increased usage. We increased computers and printers to keep replacement hardware on schedule. We're trying to have a schedule for technology and stay on it, basically. Increase in email expense for cloud software expenses, new user and increased productivity license. We also took the wireless and communication services line item. So wireless is the phones, communication services is basically any other communication that's not phones. And we moved it into each department budget, so there was more accountability as far as technology. So there wasn't a slush fund that all the departments just grabbed out of. It was to have more accountability. So again, a technology replacement and schedule was part of the strategic plan, and so that is why we are have put funding in this department. Planning, the total amount for the budget is $133,000. So we moved the planning tech salary out of building to planning in the general fund because it's not supposed to be out the building fund the way building is supposed to be set up per state law. So, and also Christy was doing some building, but since she's now doing all planning, that's why we had to move her out. And we have a lot of planning projects to do with the land development code rewrite, rewriting the development and design standards, as well as keeping up with the development that's wanting to come. She really needed to be full-time planning. So we also added retainer line items. That was so the developer, that hits the revenue and expense side. So the developer puts in a retainer when he comes forward for projects, and we use the money they put in to then pay for professional services related to their project. If they run out of the retainer, we request more money. If they don't run out of the retainer, we refund whatever they don't spend. So it's more of a pass-through. And the land development code is something that was in the strategic plan. Staff did not put a ton of money for the land development code because we're going to try to do as much of it as we can in-house, but we did put a little bit just so we can have one level of review either through Kinley Horn or the Planning Council, because we do need another set of eyes, but we are saving substantial amount of money doing it in-house. Parks, 377,000. Those increases were due to utilities, repairs, and maintenance, as well as programs and supplies. Basically, the budget was decreased a lot during COVID, and what actually happened is people start using parks more, especially now, because people feel safer outside than huddled all together. So, so we needed to fund that department to reflect what's really going on and to keep up with the usage of our parks. Again, we do have strategic planning items that we will be accomplishing this year, but none that impacted the budget. Streets, 545,000. We did add a service worker 1, which was desperately needed. We wanted to add 2 employees, but the funds weren't there, so we added 1. The strategic planning items, the impact fee, that study is going on for roadways. We also added a little more money for grant submittals for roadway and drainage improvements, and we have a lot of grants that we are currently trying to get for roadways. Facilities, 164,000. These changes were for elevator repair and minor roof repairs. Staff is aware that the roof needs a lot more than the amount that's in the budget to repair it. So this is a patch until we get some more revenue in to do the roof as it needs to be done. So the strategic planning items, again, there is a general government impact fee that the study is being conducted on now that would include facilities, police, and fire. And I would like people to know in the audience that the impact fee is a charge that is made as development comes in. It's not made on existing residents, which is important to know. So existing residents will not be hit by any of this fee. As homes come in, that fee is charged at time of building permit, and it's a one-time fee. As well as we included some more audiovisual for the council chambers. Cemetery, 59,000. Basically, we did add additional monies for servicing dead and dying trees. Farmers market, 81,191. Basically, this budget jumped significantly because the farmers market is getting more activity. But it's a pass-through. So the money that increased it on the expenditure side, we're also getting it on the revenue side by people who go to the farmers market and by the vendors who set up there. So it's a complete pass-through. So now we're going to get into the special revenue fund summaries. As you can see, this is more of a very extensive graph that is here for anyone that wants to see it. And we will make this available to the public, but it would be time consuming. I'm not sure everyone will completely understand it. But, so anyway, basically, police, you can see the revenues versus the expenditures for police, the fire control, Parks and Rec, special revenue, cemetery revenue, transportation fund, reserve, building a CRA. I'll just kind of look at it and try to pick the big things for you right now. So police and fire basically stayed the same. There wasn't a lot of change as far as beginning and end fund balance. Parks and Rec, again, that was the one that was very ambitious. So their beginning fund balance is slightly over $1 million, and their ending fund balance is $497,000, and that is for the large number of capital projects that we will get into when we get to that slide. Cemetery, the beginning fund balance 187, the ending fund balance 197, increased by 10,000. The commission requested that staff put $50,000 in contingency, and so I do need to put that in there because I caught that right before the meeting because y'all asked that at the last budget workshop. So you'll see that change reflected on the next, by second hearing. So that will draw it down to 147. Transportation. So what's going on here? The beginning fund balance was 239,373. The ending balance was 134. Money has been taken from the transportation fund last year, around 650,000 to supplement the general fund. This year, we're going down in the amount that's supplementing the general fund. I was able to cut $300,000 off of it. So we're only supplementing it by 350. Then we'll supplement it by even less next year. Then we'll supplement it by even less the following year. So we're not having to hit fund balance for the transportation fund. So that's the goal, but we are headed in the right direction. The reserve fund, this fund is a fund that's for emergency purposes. So the commission puts $75,000 in every year, and it grows and grows and grows so that if anything happens, a major catastrophe, maybe something goes wrong at the wastewater plant, there's money there to cover should there be an emergency and we need funds on the spot or anything. So right now, the ending fund balance will be $950,000 if this budget is approved. The building department,
and then it stops.
oh yeah, I've read all those ordinances. Jenny's got them for me.
Okay, no, I'm just saying, so next year, for example, next year, you would only take 50,000. If nothing is used, it wouldn't be the 75, it would just do 50, and then it would stop at the million, depending on if we ever spend it, then it would go back in to get it back to the million.
Yes, and that's exactly what we plan to do. And
Right.
we do want to grow the fund balance outside of this
Right.
fund as well. So that will help grow the fund balance so that we can be in a sound, stable position.
But this was, this was, the money was basically being figured into the total fund balance, which is why it's distorted a little bit, because this was supposed to be a separate fund.
Right, the way the commission set it up by ordinance, it was supposed to be a separate fund. Now the auditors, when they come in, they might on their audit will likely still combine it, okay? Which is favorable for if we went out for debt issuance of any kind. But for the intended purposes is why we put it in the special revenue, and because of that, we want to grow the fund balance to what it is truly supposed to be as far as the intent of when that ordinance was passed. So the CRA, I'll go back to building. So building, the beginning fund balance, 430,000. The ending balance was 379,000. Again, when we get to that slide, we'll discuss it. The train depot was one of the major expenditures. The building department occupies the majority of that building, so it makes sense that they buy it from the CRA, and they have more money to maintain it. CRA, the beginning balance is 429. The ending balance is 302. What happened with that is there are several carryover projects from this budget year that haven't been completed yet. So it was a carryover of projects that are going to cost money in the next budget year that would have ordinarily been funded from this budget year, but they're kind of, for instance, the facade improvement grant that was recently awarded to Kelly Barber, that's being done next year. There are a couple other projects as well that we'll get to when we get to that slide. So police special revenue, this only $31,000 is in there, and it kind of, goes in and comes out and remains zero. That was basically to keep track of grants and special things they do during the year, such as there are things they do for the community and other funds that are supposed to kind of be tracked separately so it doesn't get caught up in the general fund. And if they have any money left over from this year on any of the things they do for the community, it can roll over into next year and they won't lose it to the general fund, including the grants, holiday cheer, and some of the forfeiture money. The fire control special revenue, beginning and ending funded balance $48,000. The operating budget is $174,000. Personnel is the biggest cost at over $1 million. So, and the capital is $175,000, making the total expenditures $1.5 million. With the debt service and the transfer to the general fund, they ended up even. The big things for this next budget year are the purchase of the squad engine brush truck replacement. We are kind of the vehicle that's being paid for right now will come off this budget year, and then next year that money will be left for the squad engine and brush truck replacement, as well as the fire impact fee that is included in the general study that's underway. Parks and Rec special revenue. This is where Damon made the budget look bad because because I'm like, you're making it look like the expenditures are way over the revenues, which they are, but you really want revenues to look better than expenditures. But he has money to do projects and he's ready to go, which is awesome. So anyway, beginning fund balance is $1 million after the revenues are anticipated this year. It's much higher, and personal capital, we did add a person to this budget because there's so many projects coming in line. We need someone to help manage them and see them through. Again, the biggest cost was over $1 million in capital, and the ending fund balance is $497,000. So all the capital projects that have been included in this budget were items that the commission is aware of and discussed during the strategic planning session, and they include Memorial Park, the Canoe Outpost, Catherine Taylor Community Center, Rails to Trails, as well as we have a Parks and Trail System master plan to fund in there. That was actually something that's currently in our comprehensive plan that says we have to do, and we just haven't done it yet. So, to get that done, especially with the growth that's coming, it's very important, especially for people who care about trails. So staff knows where they're supposed to go. So as development comes in, we can make sure developers start building a really nice trail system for the community. So that's what we have for parks. So transportation special revenue, I kind of touched on this a little. The beginning fund balance $293. It makes around $250,000 in revenues. Money has been taken from the fund balance in the past. Last year it was drawn down significantly with a $650,000 transfer. This year we're only transferring around $355,000 for an ending balance of $134,000. And every year we are going to make the transfer less and less so that we can ensure that we are operating within the amount of money that we are supposed to be and not having to be supplemented from other areas, not being hit somewhere else that unexpectedly. So that's that. Cemetery special revenue, 187, we anticipate 10, getting 197, and staff will put the $50,000 in contingency that was discussed at the last budget workshop. Building special revenue, there's money being spent from this one. The beginning balance 430, revenues 376, personnel 224, operating 144, capital 25, which makes the total amount being spent 393 with the transfer. It makes it 426 with the ending balance 379. The big changes in this budget was moving the planning tech to planning, which we discussed, but then we put a permit tech position in there, but that is only supposed to be filled if some of these development projects are approved. Because if they're approved, then we need to start preparing for the growth and being able to handle it. And we need to, there's several things as far as our records are concerned, and setting things up to facilitate the development in an expeditious way that need to be done to prepare. We added the line item for the train depot payment as discussed. So that. Community Redevelopment Agency, we went over this in the meeting held directly before this meeting. The beginning fund balance is 429, personnel 75, operating 166, capital 65, which makes the total 306,000. With the transfer to general fund, the ending balance is 334. 540. So the big projects this year, again, any drawdown was capital projects. The philosophy on taking anything from existing balance was it needed to be like a capital project, one-time purchase, because we want to keep all the operating under revenues coming in every year. So we have a sound and stable budget. So that's whereas staff made sure of that in all these funds. So the lighting project, which is the kind of ambiance lighting, there's several phases to that. That was one of the rollovers from this past year that the money's moving forward to expend this year because it hasn't been started yet. So as well as we went ahead and put money for phase 2 in, but we will come to y'all before we move forward with phase 2. In the photometric study, that was to get a study of the lighting done downtown. So we have the information we need to make it safer so people can be seen at night and know what projects we need to move forward on as far as lighting is concerned. And if we need to phase in more light poles, if we need to put them in different places, if we need to use different lighting. So that's what this will do for us. Money was put in there for GAI to, because we have a contract with them. We will discuss this at a CRA meeting, but to look at bringing the peanut mill property into the CRA district. In additional money put in there for facade improvement grants because people have really been interested in that. So we want to take advantage of those opportunities. The strategic planning items that have been accomplished, the CRA strategic plan goes to the county this month. Lighting projects moving forward. Downtown parking is a grant that we recently have been awarded, and it involves a study of for additional parking downtown and taking care of some of the stormwater drainage issues, which will provide us the data we need then to apply for more grants to get some capital improvements and infrastructure done. So it's a really good thing, and beautification such as landscaping have all been undergoing and or accomplished. Enterprise funds, water, sewer, solid waste, water, and I included the impact fees just under this. So on all of those, on the water, the beginning fund balance is around 583, ending 414. So sewer 989, ending $1 million. So this is mainly due to the wastewater treatment plant expansion. Solid waste, which we anticipate getting a grant for. Solid waste, 210, ending balance 215, slightly higher. Water impact fee, the ending balance of that is 49,000, which ours is probably one of the lowest impact fees, definitely in Alachua County, if not the whole state. And the sewer impact fee is at 672,000. So Florida Rural Water is currently working on a study for us on that right now. Water Enterprise Fund, instead of going over all these numbers, because it doesn't need as much explanation since they're enterprise funds and they're in good standing. The big things that were put in here, the big numbers, are because of capital improvements. And again, the personal operating do fall underneath the revenues that come in every year. The changes are the projects we want to work on are the third well, AMI, the money's in there for the CDBG grant share. We put in there a storage building for the equipment that currently is exposed to the elements because we wanted to protect our assets and make them last longer. The water sewer master plan, so that was approved this year and some is being paid this year, but some still needs to be paid next year for the one that Florida Rural Water is working on and the impact fee study. The cost of that, a lot of that will be paid after October too. So the strategic planning items that have been accomplished and are underway, water sewer master plan, impact fees, the rate analysis, well number 3, SCADA, AMI, and the meter replacements that go along with AMI. So people have more accurate readings and so that they know they can look online and see what's going on with their water at any moment in time. And, we can detect leaks easier and be more responsive quicker to many of the water issues going on in town. Sewer, the beginning balance 989, any balance over $1 million. So it's in, we got more money. Well, we anticipate getting a little more money, not a lot. So the changes, again, wastewater treatment plant expansion, water sewer master plan, in the impact fee study, the strategic planning items, water sewer master plan, impact fees, rate analysis, wastewater treatment plant expansion, AMI, meter replacement. So all of that was discussed as part of strategic planning items that y'all were interested in staff accomplishing. Solid waste, beginning balance 210, ending 215, slightly higher. There are no major changes. Basically, we've really been working on customer service and quality control and communication to improve our trash services. And their contract will be up in a few years, and we will be probably recommending that we go out to bid. This reserve is the fund that we already discussed that the $75,000 goes into every year, and the ending balances will be at $950,000, and it is for emergencies. The impact fee, we went over that. The ending balance for water, 49. The ending balance for sewer is 672. And the main things that were put in there this year was the waste money set aside for wastewater treatment plant expansion. Should we end up getting work orders, kind of like some bump money if we need to pay some more after receiving the grant, if we receive it, which we think we will and we hope we will, as well as some additional money for contingency. So we're on the last 2 slides. I'm sure y'all are very happy. And like everyone like clap, we're like almost done. So obviously you can see that I highlighted different things. So the items, these are items that were requested or discussed at sometimes during a strategic planning session or something that staff has identified that is a need. The items that aren't highlighted are ones that aren't funded. So they include agenda software, financial software, human resource software. The marketing budget we did start, but 30-some thousand is very little. Parks, additional money for tournaments, programming, events. We couldn't put in there as much as we wanted to. IT, a data center. Kevin, can you go to the next slide? Then we'll come back to this side. And transfer of the pump lift stations on sewer. Can we go back one more now? Up one. So the ones in blue are items that we have made progress towards and are planning to this budget year. Not as much, we couldn't do as much as we wanted, so that's why it's in blue. So personnel, vehicle security, personnel vehicles will probably be something that's in there every year. That's just a huge need that's always going to be there. Planning, the land development code rewrite again, and subdivision regs rewrite. Staff is going to do most of that in-house. It would have been nice to have had the money to have additional help, but we are trying to save money. On the next slide, other things in blue were the outdoor storage facility for the Polaris Ranger, bay door and roof repair, paging system, facility plan, roadway condition survey. So these are things, again, that we weren't able to fund, but we think that we can figure it out as the year goes by, as far as staff doing more work, applying for grants, staff taking on things that we might ordinarily give for an engineer, professional services, or an architect or someone, us doing it in-house, as well as applying for grants, or using the American recovery funds. So we have ideas that we want to get this done this next fiscal year. Even though it's not in the budget, we are working towards solving this budget year. So the items that are yellow are things that currently are kind of similar to the blue that we are working on. They might not be as far as the items in blue. The items in blue, we feel more secure we can do. The items in yellow, we're working and moving forward to, we don't have as secure feeling that we'll be able to do everything we want, such as the new water plant. We'll be able to make progress towards it, but we don't know if this next budget year how much we're going to be able to get, but we will make progress. The generator for the lift stations, definitely we're making progress on that. Cemetery expansion, the $50,000 in contingency is going to help. Fence repair and replacement, some more ALS equipment, body cameras. Chief Shepherd has been working on forever, GPS. So yes, we think we can get those body cameras, but they're in yellow because we're not 100% sure we'll get them, but we are still working on it. Can you go back one to other yellow items? Building personnel, if growth comes. So yeah, we budgeted for it, but we are only anticipating it if the growth comes. So basically, a yellow is we're moving forward, but there's some factors beyond our control. That's what yellow means. And the items in pink are the ones that are way more expensive that we need to be more creative on, such as the downtown parking. We need a new police building. We need a public works building. City Hall needs a facelift. We want a more aggressive water main replacement program, and we want a much larger budget for the reconstruction and resurfacing of roads and additional roadway maintenance. So staff is not ignoring these things, which is why these are on here in yellow. Our philosophy is try to grow some revenue streams before we start cutting major program areas. And we anticipate with the growth that's coming on, that if some of these projects are approved, and again, it looks like some of them might be and some of them might not be, but there are a few ones that are seem like they are quality that y'all may be interested in improving. And if so, we do anticipate receiving anywhere from $300,000 to $400,000 extra a year in revenue once they come online. Now it will take around a year for entitlements. It will take a year for them to do their infrastructure and a year for them to start building. We're looking at 3 years, and then you have the lag time where homes start fully getting on the tax rolls. So there is some waiting. The other things we are doing is we are being way more aggressive on applying for grants. We may look at discussing with the commission a future bond election and surveying the citizens and see what projects they want, which ones they don't, what they would be willing to pay for, which ones they don't want to, and just letting the citizens decide. If they don't want to do some of these things, it's okay, but at least they've had the chance to have their voice heard. Also, we're looking at some cost recovery, such as this year we did it with the retainer for the developers. We are getting back money. We're making them pay now for things they probably should have already been paying for in the past. So we are going to look at the master fee schedule so we get adequate cost recovery for services. And again, keep in mind that it's not just citizens who use the city's services, it's people outside the city who are using our services. And again, with cost recovery, such as I'll pull parks, that doesn't mean we get 100% cost recovery, but it means that we're being competitive with other cities, such as seniors. A lot of times there's zero cost recovery for that. So we're not going to go, hey, let's charge the seniors 100%. We're not going to do that. They will still be zero, right? Or something very, very low. But we are going to set our kind of performance standards, do our research, and come to y'all so that y'all have all the information so you can make the best decisions for the community. And cost recovery is something that we should be looking at every year, just like we do the water or sewer rates. So when I say building revenue streams, kind of just making sure that we are keeping up and not getting behind. Because again, it's like with the property tax rate, you don't want to have to do this big jump. You know, you want to kind of inch it up if you need to go up, and inch it down when you can. So that's the budget. Y'all have any questions or comments or changes or?
Well, as far as I'm, sorry,
No, I was just about to add in a comment from the commissioner.
you were afraid people were gonna fall asleep, but that was one of the best budget reviews that we've had.
Oh, thank you.
I didn't fall asleep at all.
Thanks.
Good job.
Thank you.
Do we have any other commissioners' comments? No?
The only thing I mean, the staff have been really good about answering my questions and helping me see a multi-year vision, and I appreciate that.
I think we want to head in future years towards the multi-year vision. Getting a finance director online will really help so we can work together. So.
Madam Mayor will remind folks who are on Zoom they'd like to speak, please utilize the raise your hand function. I see no hands at this time.
Thank you. All right. Is there a motion here?
I will make an emotion. I'm emotional. I will make a motion that we approve ordinance 2021-08 as read by title.
I'll second it.
All right, it has been properly moved in second that ordinance 2021-08 be approved. Roll call, Ms. Brown.
Madam Mayor, can I say something real quick before we go? I just want to make sure, and I think everybody is in agreement on this one here. As Linda just said, I think the budget is much more detailed this year and the notes that are in there. But I also think the biggest thing positive that's come out of this is the mere fact that we've identified areas where money maybe shouldn't have been, and we moved it to where it should be. And I'm not a finance guy, so I can't give you the linguistics on that. But I do think going forward with this budget and budgets coming in the future, I think we're going to see a positive move from the budget because we've actually got the money going where it should be. It's like the chess pieces, they're actually moving. So I do think we're on the right course. So I thank Mr. Hados and Bruce and all the staff, because we may not see it all this year, but I think in years going forward, the appropriate usage of the money and the appropriate line items, I think will pay dividends down the road. And so I thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
I can piggyback on that because I think I spoke to you about that earlier. To me, it's a lot clearer than it was before. You can actually look at it and see exactly what items went into that dollar amount. And it makes it a lot easier for me to read. And I had talked to her about that earlier. All right, are we ready for roll call? Okay.
Commissioner Jones,
Yes.
Commissioner Ambrose,
Yes.
Commissioner Jameson,
Yes.
Commissioner Williams,
Yes.
Mayor James,
Yes. All right, motion carries 5-0. Okay, moving on to item number 3.
Madam Mayor, this is a proclamation of the City of High Springs, State of Florida, whereas on September 11, 2001, American people endured the worst terrorist attack on U.S. soil in the nation's history with courage and bravery. And whereas the lives of 2,977 innocent victims were mercilessly cut short by terrorists driven by hatred and destruction. Whereas in response to this tragedy, Americans across the country came together in a remarkable spirit of devotion and unity to carry out countless acts of kindness. Whereas September 11th is a day to honor the memory of those who were lost and those who united in response to this tragedy, including first responders and volunteers. Whereas from the tragedy of September 11th emerged a stronger nation, renewed by a spirit of national pride and a true love of country. Now therefore, the City Commission of the City of High Springs recognizes September 11th, 2021 as the 20th anniversary of the attacks of 9/11 and urges our citizens to remember the victims and innocent lives lost as a result of the tragic events on September 11th, 2001, and to also recognize the heroism of firefighters, rescue and law enforcement personnel, military service members, and their many volunteers who responded to these tragic events with courage, selfless compassion, determination, and skill. In witness whereof, our mayor is hereby setting her hand and caused to be affixed the official seal of the City of High Springs, Florida, this 9th day of September 2021, signature of Gloria James, our mayor, and attested by Jenny L. Parham, our city clerk. The appropriate motion is to pass the proclamation as read by its entirety.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Moving right along.
I'll make a motion that we pass the proclamation, correct? You need that to pass it, so I'll make a motion, we pass the proclamation.
You're right.
Second.
All right, it's been properly moved in second. This proclamation for September the 11th be approved. All those in favor respond with aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Right, motion carries 5-0. All right, our next item is citizens' requests and comments for issues that are not on the agenda. And please state your name for the record and limit your comments to 5 minutes, please.
Good evening. Elder Adam Joy, High Springs, Florida. My daughter Avery is with me, and she has been back there the whole entire time saying that she wanted to stand up and just say hello. Say hello. Say hello. All right. Did you say we have to see our address? No? Okay. I just want to speak briefly to the commission. On yesterday, I thank God for Manager Ashley and Assistant City Manager Gillingham and Mr. Damon from Parks and Rec. I last minute requested to meet with them regarding wanting to partner with the city to provide much needed space for the expansion of our preschool. It is no secret that from the time that Miss Tammy closed her daycare over in the southeast near Catherine Taylor Park, that we have inquired about it. I do know that it's not in a condition at this very moment that it can be occupied, but the city manager and her assistants were willing to speak with me about other options. So I just wanted to let you guys know that I believe you will hear from city staff about possible partnerships and what the city may be able to help us do. And I want to say that the youth here in our community is what's most important. And where we are, our preschool currently is at capacity over behind Subway Plaza. Most recently, we got a grant for the Head Start program that will fund 20 children ages 3 to 5 that they can attend preschool for free for the school year. And this is for very low income families. So that's what we're trying to get done, is to find a space. Every other place that's here in town, they either don't want kids in their building if it's for rent, or as soon as we contact the place, they say, hey, somebody just got it. I don't want to lose this grant. There are many families that need this opportunity, and we just need a place to be able to put the kids for that. The last thing I do want to say is, although Ms. Tammy's old building is not occupiable at this moment, there are quite a few that really want to see that remain a daycare center. And even if it's not us that continues it on, it really needs to be a daycare center, because so many people have passed away back there that are older, and that daycare center is what drew families to that community and what kept the kids in that community. And that's certainly something that we want to continue to see. So you will hear more from me, and I plan to go out into that community to, do what I have to do to try to make sure that that happens. That's all I needed to say this evening. And again, thank you, Manager Ashley, Assistant City Manager Bruce, and Brother David. And I hope to hear from you guys soon.
Okay,
Thank you.
all right. Nobody else, no one else. Okay, then in that case, we will move right along to the city attorney's report.
Nothing to report, Madam Mayor.
All right, city manager's report.
I feel really bad that Avery had to sit there during that whole presentation. That's what I thought.
very well.
Yes, my
great.
kids would not have done that well when they were that age. No, I just wanted to thank all the department heads who, and the city clerk's office and assistant city manager they were good, excellent team players during the budget process. I knew it was new to a lot of them, the way we did things, and, they were on board, and I didn't get much, I don't think I got any pushback, and it was just it was a good process for the team. And this was not Ashley's budget. It was a budget made by the department heads and with the community in mind, and by y'all too, because we really did follow the strategic plan in the thoughts of when we made the budget. So, and I also want to thank everybody who, since we do not have a finance director,
Okay,
wow. I think that's the first time that's ever happened. So, but I had to lean on a lot of people to do aspects of my job that I ordinarily do during this time to get the budget done. And I just appreciate everyone who stepped forward, because we wouldn't have gotten it done, not me, had so many people not stepped forward and helped. So that's all I wanted to say. And I also wanted to recognize Kevin's newsletter. Again, the Parks and Rec has talked about, and the purchase of the Santa Fe Canoe Outpost, which is moving along. Again, I'd like to mention that's from Wild Spaces money. No money's taken from general fund for the purchase of the canoe outpost, as well as the firefighters did another save in a sinkhole with a goat. Police had a very successful national night out. And we have a new team member that came, Mr. Tannehill, Michael Tannehill, and he's joined the Public Works Department, as well as the banners that are out there that David's worked very hard on, and they look really good. So just want to mention that, and to let y'all know, there have been questions about the comp plan, that we do anticipate that coming to P&Z and the commission in October. It's staff has gotten all their comments to Kimley Horn, and they are just putting those in. So.
okay. All right. All right, let's start on the end, Ms. Campbell.
All right, Bruce, is there a 9/11 ceremony at the fire station Saturday morning?
Yep.
Like, you're nodding your head. So isn't that at 8:30 or
8 o'clock.
8 o'clock? So again, if people weren't aware of that, fire station, Saturday morning, 8 o'clock. And the only thing, you don't have to respond now, city attorney, but, you know, months ago, we talked about the GRU revenues and how the fire department had reported they were hooking up subdivisions and things like this, but we're not seeing an increase in any of the revenues coming into the city. So I'm just curious where we're at in some kind of a response from them to our inquiries about really their customer base and if everything's happening correctly.
I know we started on that, but I'll check on it and see.
Okay. That's all I have.
All right. Mr. Jameson,
I'm good. Fire? Good.
Vice Mayor,
No comments right now, thank you.
you okay? All right. I have one observation that I was asked to mention. And that is over at the Farmers Market Pavilion, the flooring area over there, the cement area is being destroyed over there. I don't know if it's from the parking of the heavy trucks or what is causing it, but it's actually cracking up over there. So I don't know what we can do about it, but
We had some complaints on vehicles parking over there, PD handling it, we've been addressing it, so there's gonna be a parking underneath the pavilion.
Mhm.
Parking, we're doing it on Friday night, Saturday night, so it's being handled, that's that.
very good. Thank you so much. All right, that's all.
Motion to adjourn.
All right.